Was Buddha right about fear? Hello and welcome to another Coffee Time, my friends. It is I, John. I am here in the John of News Studios. That's what I'll call it from now on. It is about 30 degrees outside, so I'm not on the back deck. I'm enjoying my glass of apple cider and having a great time with you here in the warmth, which I like very much. I wanted to talk today about the secret to enlightenment being the eradication of fear. This is something that the Buddha said. The secret to enlightenment is the eradication of fear. Eradication, the clearing out of fear. The exterminating your fear, right? Like the Orkin man. The secret to enlightenment. See, all fears come with anchors. All fears come with attachments. All fears are based on a negative focus and an attachment to that focus. And when you have it, the other thing Buddha said was release attachment. So when you're attached to fear, you are being blinded to love. You are being blinded to love. There is love, there is fear, and fear is the illusion of there not being love. And when you are blinded by fear, the world seems dark, desolate, like it's a shadow. Or as the Bible says, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. There's no fear, right? Fear. When you eradicate fear, you come to a very simple place. You come to the realization that God is truly love. And when you come to the realization that God is truly love, and fear is a negatively focused uncertainty, and the person who's negatively focusing is yourself, you come to realize there's nothing to fear. And when it was a Churchill who said, there's nothing to fear but fear itself, right? There's nothing to fear but fear itself. And that, of course, that is a loop right there. Fearing fear creates a loop, right? But the truth of that statement is very profound. There is nothing else. You're afraid because you're afraid, and that's a negative focus on an outcome that isn't set. Because if it had happened, you would not be in that state, right? You don't know what's going to happen. And that fear itself is the thing that's holding you back, that's anchoring you. And you watch people in fear, they pounce down, they get ready to run, fight or flight, ready to run or fight, one of the two, right? And they drop down low, right? They anchor in. And there have been many experiences, and I've told this story before in the past, where a man was in my face screaming and yelling at me. Now, I was a martial artist. I could have dropped into a fighting stance, but what would I have done? That would have escalated the moment. Instead, I stood there very calm and did not let his nature towards me diminish my peace. I just let him vent. I recognized he was in fear. And by looking at his fear, I was able to not become invested in his fear. And I would not be able to react to his fear. If I had reacted to his fear, I'd be living his fear, not my own. And his fear would have created fear in myself. The idea really is that what is enlightenment? If you think of fear as something you're carrying, I carry my fear. Enlightenment means you set things down to become lighter. You set your fears down and you become lighter. And the mere thought of a fear will weigh you down. Many years ago, I was in an acting class with a world-class professional mime. Yes, I know mimes. And he had an exercise where he was about a 5'2" tiny man. And I'm a 6'1" big burly man. And he said, what I want you to do is I want you to lift me up. Just walk behind me, grab me, and pick me up. And I walked behind him, and I went to pick him up, and I could not budge him off the floor. I could not budge him off the floor. And I was like, it's amazing. And then he said, all right, give me him. He says, do it again. And I grabbed him, and I almost threw him off the floor. He bounced. He was like right foot, like lifted straight up. He explained to us that in his physicality, in the first time he became a tree that was rooted to the ground. And the second time he became a bird in flight. And so just his mere thought of thinking tree rooted to the ground made him hard to lift. And the mere thought of thinking he was in flight made his body physically lighter. And that's what fear does. Fear is being rooted to the ground. That's why when you get to have those fear responses, you duck, because you're getting closer and tighter and more grounded to the ground. And when you are loving, you feel so light and, ooh, I can fly, right? That's the feeling of love. And so you're seeing the opposites in the dichotomy of physicality. And when you feel yourself in fear, become enlightened by setting the fear down and becoming lighter. Because that's really the secret to it. The secret to enlightenment is the eradication of fear, setting down your fear. In the famous "To Be or Not to Be" speech, Hamlet says, "Who would fardels bear?" Now, fardel sounds like a funny word and makes you feel like you had Mexican food or something for dinner, but it's fardels. Fardels are packs, heavy loads. Who would fardels bear? To grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death. The dread is the fear. They're carrying these packs. They're struggling through life because they're afraid it's gonna be terrible when they die. That's what the speech is talking about. That section of the speech is talking about. Who would fardels bear? Who would fears bear? Who would fears bear if they knew that it was going to be beautiful and loving in their life? Their life was going to be beautiful and loving. Who would carry their fears? Who would allow themselves to be burdened with fears when they can set them down and be enlightened? You get to choose. And the choice is struggle through life with fears or fly. And it's really up to you. You guys have a great day. And I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. The John of New channel is solely funded by your generous donations and purchases of private readings and merchandise. To help out, go to johnofnew.com or use the donation link in the description below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.